and aviators, stay on the shelf. And hey, we're here at Jerusalem. We're outside of the Old City still, and we're going to give you another download on Via Dolorosa.
If you're one of our Catholic friends, this might be very familiar to you, but this is something that Michelle and I really actually kind of learned about as a part of our trip here. But the Via Dolorosa is walking through, in the footsteps of Jesus, through his arrest, his trial, and crucifixion. And so it's very meaningful. You actually get to physically walk in the places where these events took place. And so it's much different than reading about it in your scripture passages and even just kind of imagining it in your mind. You get to see the places where this happened.
So just like as we've said before, to preserve these holy sites, there's churches built in many of these areas. And while some of them are now either school for boys or a church or, just a holy site, they're a whole hodgepodge of how they're all set up. But, it makes it hard to get into the mindset of what it actually looked like it was there. But I have to say that walking these streets is probably the most impactful for me. So there are churches built on these holy sites, and you need to be aware of when they're open. They all open at different times. Some of them have longer hours, some of them have shorter hours, some of them close on certain days of the week. That doesn't mean that you can't do the walk. You can still walk through the Old City, through all of the alleyways, and that's very powerful, even if you don't go into the churches themselves. But if you have a chance to go into the churches, they're free. There's no charge to walk into these places. There are some rules about, modest dress and things like that.
You definitely want to have a map with you as you're walking this, especially if you're like us and you're not going with a group. That helps to map out or helps you walk the path through these various sites. And so it is a path that you walk. Jerusalem, the Old City, is split into 4 quarters. There's the Muslim quarter, the Christian quarter, the Armenian corner, and the Jewish corner, or quadrants. This path is completely in the Muslim quarter and the Christian quarter. And so it starts at the far edge of the city, the eastern edge of the city at Lion's Gate. And as you walk through this path, you definitely want to have a map because there are markings on a lot of the walls, but they are not especially obvious. And so it would be very easy for you to walk past some of these areas if you don't know what you're looking for. So it's not just going to be a bunch of pilgrims walking this path with you. It's a city. There's stuff going on. There's people walking back and forth. There are, people talking to each other. There are other tours going around. So there's a lot of busyness happening. It will benefit you greatly if you've done your homework beforehand. If you go and find the scripture passages where it talks about these different events so that you can read them in that place or you can read them beforehand. So if you've prepped yourself both in knowledge and prepped your spirit to go experience these places, it'll be all the more impactful while you're there.
We're not going to walk through all of the Stations of the Cross with you today, but on our website we have it all lined out, and we've linked a whole bunch of other websites that we used as resources, and in addition to sermon series and things like that from our home church. And shout out Pastor Adam. So you can use all those to piece your own time together or just to prepare.
We also put together a playlist of worship songs to enjoy and help center our mind and to focus us with all of the sounds and the busyness happening around us. And that was a huge blessing, at least for me, to really focus and to be able to center myself spiritually on what it is I am experiencing, because it is truly a special place. As Michelle said, dress modestly, but you will have people staring at you, wondering what you're doing. We encountered that much more than I thought we would, and it kind of made me uncomfortable for a little bit. But it's like, no, I think they don't have a problem with me. But there's a lot. We're here during Ramadan, and so there are a bunch of Muslim tourists here as well, also making their own pilgrimages, and just seeing 2 Americans who are hanging out in the street is a new thing to them too. And so just remember that it goes both ways. That you're experiencing new things, and other people experiencing new things by seeing you.
You're also going to have a different experience if there's just 2 of you versus in a group. And we'll talk about our group experience later, but our group experience definitely shows to me that people don't pay attention to you in a group. But if you were there with only a couple of you or 1 of you or 3 of you, there's probably more attention paid to you because you're not part of a tour.
The final place in the Via Dolorosa is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And this is where it is stated where Jesus was on the cross, where they took him down, and where they buried him, all in one church. And so you definitely want to learn about this church beforehand and just kind of understand maybe the order of operations in which you want to see it.
It is hard to make this walk. To walk in the footsteps of somebody who is going to die is hard, and that is an emotional experience. And just remember that that is not the end of the story. And so there should be great joy when you finish this walk, because how could you not be joyful? The tomb was empty because he has risen. And just remember that we played songs about the joyfulness part, and don't get stuck in the death, but be excited in the resurrection.
We'll see you next time for one last video as we go through the Sea of Galilee. Here in the moment.
No.